Hello guys, I think I am live already. Let me double check here. Hmm. All right, okay. Hello guys, it's me again. So I'm going to do my podcast number 19. And, actually I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the movements, political movements, and especially, among the youths in Asia. Uh, actually, I also intend to talk about the youths in Northeast India and in Nagaland. Okay. I also try to explore on some articles. Okay. So I did read some articles, and I'm going to cite some of them as well. But this is not necessarily an article review or any of that sort. But I will give you some of my pointers as well and some of my ideas on what I think the youth of Northeast of India, and especially the youths in Nagaland needs to go about, and what should be done. So this is relevant and very timely, I would say, a timely inquiry, because there was a lot of recent eruptions of movements, particularly youth movements, students, student bodies and social bodies in different parts of Asia. So I think this is a very timely issue here that we need to talk about, because we're also facing a kind of like a systemic crisis in Nagaland, in the state of Nagaland, which is India. So I think this is a very important topic here. The youth movement in Asia definitely needs to be looked at, from a different angle, but also seriously, we kind of need to study about it. So I came out with some of my findings from the articles that I've read, and I'll just share it with you, okay? So I will give you some examples on the youth movements all across Asia, okay? So in South Korea in 2008, after the discovery of the mad cow disease in the US, so in South Korea, apparently they were, importing American beef to South Korea. But, when the mad cow disease in 2008 struck America, there was a big protest, and, a lot of, people came out criticizing the South Korean government to stop importing beef, which was, which could have killed a lot of local population from Korea as well. So, which is understandable, okay? But, however, the problem here is sometimes, the government kind of messes it up every time, most of the time, okay, I would say. So apparently the government of South Korea, along with, some people, their compatriots or whoever, established a deal to sell back, to get back the beef. So this sparked a lot of criticism from the public, and not just the public, but many of the youths, particularly students in South Korea, held a candlelight vigil, okay, to show their opposition of beef being imported from America to South Korea. Okay, so this was security concern. This was, there was a food security concern as well. Okay, but according to the sources, okay, it's very important to realize that who are the youths here? The youths are mostly students, okay? Students, okay, and people. So the definition of youth has a different, terminology, okay? According to the United Nations, okay, I think, okay, according to the United Nations, or UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, according to their definition, the youth constitutes of people between 15 and 24 years. The government of India defines youth as persons in the age group of 15 to 35 of age. Okay, so this was actually published in the Ministry of Youth and Sport Affairs, 2003. Okay. So it really depends, okay, on the age set of the definition of different sources. But at the end of the day, people who are from 15 years to 35 years, you could call them youth, okay, or even, I don't know, even a little older too. Depends on the society as well, okay. So mostly, going back to South Korea and the beef problem. So most of the youths protested, okay, while the older people who were running the government didn't care. They cared about the money, okay. So I think this is a very important issue here. More than 60% of participants, right, were who? Schoolgirls, okay, high school girls. So, this continued for more than 100 days. So this issue is serious, okay. So why I say high school girls was, 60% participation rate. Why I say it's important is because, if you look at the state of Nagaland, during the 33 women reservation during the last political gambit, okay, it was, it was butchered, okay. A lot of, people, slanderously or manipulation or whatever, put down, suppress women's right to, be elected in office or have 33% reservation. So I'm up for it, okay? I'm up for it. I think, there needs to be a playing ground, okay? And I think one of the reasons that why I'm talking about the youth movement is that I think it's very important to bring girls as well, bring women in the youth movement as well. So it should go hand in hand, okay? So guys, are you guys following me? I think I'm pretty sure I'm online. Okay. All right. Okay. I guess I'm online. Okay. And thank you. I think I got some likes as well. Okay. All right. So guys, number 2, you have 2016, 2017, the South Korean protest or the Candlelight Revolution, which was a series of protests against the president. The then president, Park Geun-hye, Park Geun-hye, I think, on her administration and political corruption and scandal. So it was a very serious issue. If you can actually look it up, the Candlelight Revolution, which took place in South Korea against the corruption of the administration and the government. So going back to the Northeast states of India and also particularly in Nagaland. We have a case of, a system that is broken down, is practically not functioning, okay? And I think we need to really consider, to rally up the youths and, kind of really think and ponder about, some of the things that I will mention to you, okay? So number 3, okay? Number 3 is the Sunflower Movement in Taipei, Taiwan, which took place in 2014. Okay, so guys, all these movements are primarily based on youth movements. Okay, these are youth political movements. Okay, all across Asia. So we spoke about the mad cow disease in South Korea. Now we spoke about the Candlelight Revolution against political corruption. Okay, and the administration of the president. So we also have, the umbrella movement, okay, in Hong Kong in 2014, and 2019 you have the anti-extradition amendment bill movement, okay. It was a very bloody movement, I would say, the whole extradition in Hong Kong, and I think it's still happening. I don't condone or I don't advocate for, violent protest, especially among the youths, because it just spoils everything. It spoils the system. There's a lot of deaths and all that stuff. So I think this should be avoided. Okay. And you have 2018 in Bangladesh. Students particularly, protested for the government's failure to provide road safety and roads. I think this is very contextual because coming from a state from Nagaland, living here for a couple of months, I would say, I've experienced the woes of driving around in Nagaland, which is terrible. So when people from Bangladesh can do it, I think we can do it as well. So the last one is the 2019 student protest against, the government corruption in Jakarta, Indonesia again. Same thing with South Korea. So these are all student and youth protests, okay? And this is very important here. Now, what counts for politics among young people? What are the agents of the present and the future of our city? We are the agents, sorry. We are the agents of the future, our cities, our villages, our towns, okay? We have to realize our citizenship right and actually debate on a very civil, intellectual, academic, rational, common sense playing ground. Okay, this is no joke. Okay, this is very important here. How do we choose to respond to the current environment in our state? How do we mobilize our goals? What is the vision of youth? I think this is very important for all of us to kind of consider. Just not sit back, but actually think about it. And what can we learn from all these experiences that I've shared with you? Okay. So guys, I'll just give you a critique about the South Korean education system, okay? So this article was written by Landgraf. The article title is called Politicizing Youth in South Korea, the Role of Seoul's Educational Institution, okay? Which was published in 2020. You can have a look at it. So it's basically, South Korean education system, they had there was a lot of pressure to do well. And I think it was almost robotic. Okay, so a lot of students protested, for excessive emotional and mental stress, and they were not able to work part time as well because it was too hard, too hard to pass. So, they ultimately raised, the issue here about the, health awareness. The students, who did it, actually. They actually did succeed in, I'm pretty sure they succeeded, okay? But that's what the article says. The student at Yonsei University, they speculated on alternative possibilities and they actually took it up to the government. So, that's one way to actually, do good to the mental health of our young people, okay? I'll give you another case here. Another case is a paper written by Zahan, S.J. Zahan, 2020, okay? So the article title, the name of the article is Feminist Politicization of the Urban Young Female Students Challenging Spatial Patriarchies, which was published in 2020, okay? So Zahan, in his paper, actually exposed some of the problems and the gendered issue and the sexualized issue in Delhi, particularly, okay, and in the metropolitan areas. He says, okay, in India, where young women's bodily habits and movements are managed and controlled by university administrators, by the societal norms, through an infantilizing discourse, operating within the patriarchal and paternalistic logics, logics that deny women of their agency and autonomy. Yet, Delhi's universities and colleges have also produced a collective of educated young women who debate and act upon their experiences of everyday oppression. Their critical actions were spread across Delhi streets. So, educated women, college students, youths, they came up saying that, the system is such that they are they're gendering. There's a lot of gender issues here where, women kind of suffer in Delhi or in many parts of the metropolitan cities in India. So I think this is one of the debates that is still going on, okay? Now, I'll just bring about another case here, okay? The third case I want to bring up is the Himalayan youths, okay? So this article was written by Gregan and Smith, 2020, okay? So basically, the article, I'll just paraphrase it, okay? basically what he says is that, people from the Himalayan region, which is us, people from maybe Nepal, Darjeeling, Sikkim, most parts of West Bengal, places from that area. What happened is usually he writes in his article that a lot of people from the rural areas, from the villages, they go to the cities, they learn to become very liberal-minded. They see the world, they see many parts of society where it needs to be changed within their society. So they go there, but they're not they're not respected as their own citizen. Okay, they're treated as an outsider because of their looks, ethnicity, and language, and whatever eating habits, etc., etc. Because usually people from the Himalayan region or the Northeast region, we don't necessarily. We're usually a little bit of an East Asian look. Okay, so let's put it that way. So there's the feeling of national belonging lacks among these Himalayan youths who go to the cities to study, work, whatever. So when they come back, they have this realization that there is this need that we need to change within our society, within our land, within our places, villages, whatever. They encounter kind of like a change in perspective, a change in the narrative of their lives, right? So what happened is the youth, I'll quote, okay, Reagan and Smith, and I quote, they say, youths return to rural communities, bringing back urban sensibilities that invigorate and rescript their political imaginations and actions towards transforming their villages into cosmopolitan, liberal, and forward-looking spaces, unquote. So I think this is very much in tune with the COVID-19 being, everybody's coming from the cities, metropolitan cities, abroad, whatever, they're coming back home. So I would say this is the best chance for people from the Northeast states, and especially in Nagaland, to grab this opportunity to make a change, within your family, within your society, and I would say mostly within the state. I think that would be our first main goal. I think this is very important because you see literally the state is pretty much not functioning properly. So anyways, I think this is a very important issue here. On another point, so when we discuss about all these cases, about the movements, the youth people being very politically active, these are good things, and these are things that opens their eyes and opens their minds, and it kind of encourages people to actually think what is right and wrong, and make a change within your society and your state. So I would say this is an important issue here because when you're too forward-looking and when you kind of see many parts of the world, you get a little liberal. Okay, that's very true. Your mind broadens, but don't get me wrong. Okay, there is another side of the story as well. It's not necessarily liberal and happy-go. I'm just I don't want to be right-wing or whatever because they're good, but. On another point, you might think that these protesters are liberals, left-wing, or democratic in nature, because democracy is all about letting your voice out, right? The youth-led mobilization in Asia, I've already spoken to you about all the cases, right? So they are not necessarily vying for democratic values, okay, but can conversely contain conservative and right-wing overtones, right? As seen amongst the recent emergence of who? Number one, the Hindu nationalistic groups, organizations, political affiliations, etc., etc. Okay. You have the Patriotic Youth Network in Myanmar. Okay. So the Hindu nationalists are from India. Okay, for those who are not from India, those are those are from India. Okay, I would say mostly from the main cities. From Delhi. Actually, it's everywhere in the world, man. Sorry about that. I think they're everywhere. But anyways, they do carry an overtone. Okay, some sort of a right wing and very conservative, political narrative per se. And you have Patriotic Youth Network in Myanmar. Then you have the localists in Hong Kong, and you have an increasing advocacy of political Islam and many groups especially among students in Malaysia and Indonesia. Okay, so I would say among Asia, they're one of the very much prominent groups which are emerging politically among youths and all across the board. So, but for Nagaland, the state of Nagaland in India, and the youths, I would just like to just discuss with you, and maybe I can get some feedbacks as well. Okay, getting some likes here, guys. Okay. Okay, so anyways, in a state like Nagaland, a very small state, or among the Northeast states, the seven sisters, or maybe eight sisters after the second joint. Okay, so the eight sisters in Northeast part of India. I think the main point that I want to drive, today is not just bring up facts, not just bring up, political movements, especially among youths, students, etc., whatnot. But I think the main point that I want to drive here, specifically in the state of Nagaland, where I'm actually currently at, is that rather than focusing, on either the left wing or the right wing politics, let's just try to start this conversation in a very, very productive way, in a very civil way, okay? Intellectual, academic, and experience, hear from people who have experienced it, but use it and, on your own overtone, for the movement to move forward. Okay. Now, my question to you is: do you still want to be stuck in this system or make a change? Right? Some would say a massive structure overhaul, would be necessary for the state of Nagaland to change, and which is true. I've actually spoken to a lot of veterans, old people as well, and they say it is impossible for Nagaland to go forward without overhauling the whole system, which is true, bear that in mind. And let's start from scratch, right? That's the narrative where I get a lot of advice from older folks. It is for all of us to think seriously and start this conversation of youth politics, youth politics, and making amends with the wrongdoings of our past, of our society, and changing it for a better tomorrow. For how long are you going to keep quiet? For how long are you going to keep silent? See, the youth, we have a political right, because it is our given right, mandate, God-given right as well, natural right, and our Constitution to speak out, because we have the right to speak, we have the right to write, to voice, and to come and discuss in a very civil manner. And I don't think there's anybody who's going to stop us from that. So, it's in a very good, I would say, position that I think this can come about, not in a very revolutionary manner, or, because I know we have seen what's happening in Hong Kong, and it's definitely not a good thing, so I know they're exercising their democratic values, and, having lived in India, we are, democratic in nature, but that's not how, I feel like that's not how you exercise your given rights, okay, which are very precious. But anyways, I think that's the and political awareness for youth and women. Okay, youth and women it goes hand in hand, guys. We want all the women, we want all the youths to come together and kind of start this political narrative where we have our discussions, and I think you can write down in the comments below about it, guys. By the way, feel free to write down or email me. So, anyways, I'll probably catch up with you in the next podcast, number 20. So this is number 19, but it's really nice to meet you guys, and hopefully, if I'm a little late tonight in India time, but anyways, people abroad, welcome, guys. Anyways, I'll probably end my live video here. I'll see you guys soon. Okay, have a good night and have a good day for you folks out there.